Alright, good morning everyone. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Maayong buntag ka natong tanan. Maayong buntag. So, bago ko po simulan ang aking pag-aaral, kasama po si Dr. Latab-an, which is entitled Latab-an, ABAKADA ng Lokal na Kasaysayan, let me ask you a few questions, which is of course related to history. Kapag sinabi po ba nating kasaysayan, kaninong alaala ang una nating naiisip? Ang mga alaala ba ng ating mga pambansang bayani na nakasulat sa ating aklat? O mga pangalan na hindi na itala ngunit patuloy nating binibigkas sa mga salita, sa mga pangalan ng lugar, at sa mga alaala ng ating komunidad? Kanino bang alaala ang kadalasan nating naririnig at kaninong kwento ang nananatiling nasa laylayan? Next slide please. Sa maraming henerasyon, marami po tayong mga historians at historiographers and educators as well na nagsasabi na ang kasaysayan ng Pilipinas ay nakatuon sa pambansang naratibo or the grand narratives, the national narratives. And even according to our historians, it is also highly Manila-centric. Hindi po natin maikakaila ang katotohanan na yan. Would you agree with that? No. Okay. So hindi po natin maikakaila na minsan or kadalasan na kwento na ating naririnig ay mga kwento ng revolusyon, ang kwento ng ating pambansang bayani. Ngunit hindi natin maikakaila na meron po tayong mga kwento sa ating pamayanan that is worthy to be heard of. Do you even know the stories of your barangay, of your sitios? And I know that these are stories that is worthy of studying and worthy of being shared of. And because of that, dito ko po maiuugnay ang pag-aaral ko na ABAKADA ng lokal na kasaysayan ng Barangay Lataban. Next slide, please. So, I think you're very much familiar of the municipality of Liloan. Am I correct? And Liloan comes from the word lilo, which is a whirlpool. At ang pamayanan po na ating pinag-aaralan ay isa sa mga rural na barangay ng munisipalidad ng Liloan, which is Lataban. And interestingly, ang salita pong Lataban comes from the word latab. Kung ang Liloan ay galing sa salitang lilo, ang Lataban naman ay galing sa salitang latab. And are you familiar with the word latab? It's a Cebuano word. And usually, we use the word latab kapag nagsabi natin na mantikaon ang tubig. No? And sa unang tingin, masasabi natin na ang salitang Lataban is just a mere word. Pero kapag ating susuriin, it's not just a mere word, but it's actually a product of the community's observation to their very own environment. Kasi ang latab, marami pong latab sa sapa ng barangay. So, they named their barangay after latab, which is prominent sa kanilang environment. And because of that, masasabi natin na it's not just a word, but it's also a word that is shaped by the environment to which the community lived. Hindi ba? And because of that, next slide please. Mula rito ay nabuo ang ating mga layunin, which is to gather more local terms that is associated with our barangay. These are heritage vocabularies. And not only to collect these terms, but also to categorize them according to their semantic field and name derivation. Secondly, is to define these terms according sa kanilang konteksto, historical, cultural, at ecological. At pangatlo ay makabuo ng isang glosaryo na pwede nating gamitin sa pagtuturo ng lokal na kasaysayan. Lalo pat ako po ay isang Araling Panlipunan na guro, kinakailangan po sa social studies according to DepEd K-12 curriculum na i-integrate o i-contextualize ang pag-aaral ng social studies. Pero ang tanong is, paano po natin i-integrate ang local history kung wala naman talaga tayong sources or maraming sources when it comes to local history? So that's just the question. How are we going to address that? And how are we going to make sure that our teachers are also knowledgeable of local history? When in fact, when I was in college, I only had one course that is local history. And I believe that wasn't enough to make me able to really integrate local history in my teaching of social studies. And because of that, para maisakatuparan po ang ating mga layunin, ito po ang ating metodolohiya. Gumagamit po tayo ng historical na disenyo at archival research, semi-structured interview at tala-obserbasyon, and also to interpret our data, we did triangulation and as well as ethno-linguistic approach, and as well as we make sure that everything is confidential, and we have sent as well informed consent. So nakalikom po tayo ng 48 lokal na termino sa ating pananaliksik. And please, next slide. So sa ating 48 termino ay we categorize them according to its semantic field. Kapag sinabi po nating semantic field, it actually refers to the group of words which has related meanings. So we were able to come up with 5 categories, which are artifacts or artefacto, pisikal na anyo, kaalamang-bayan, institusyon, at lugar. And next slide, please. And next, Paul. So with all of these fields, semantic fields, all of these actually are very much related with one another, and it allows us to have a comprehensive understanding or a bigger picture of our community. We'll talk more about its implication once we proceed with our discussion with the research question 2. Now, the other category is according to its name derivation. Next slide, please. And next. Okay, so for the name derivation, marami po tayong mga salita and we're able to categorize these terms according to 4 local name derivation. First is tao. We also have hayop, puno or prutas, at iba pang elemento sa ating kalikasan. Kapag sinabi po nating name derivation, saan po na-derive ang salita? So, una ay tao because from our community, from our simple community, they actually named their places when we talked about that, actually related to the concept of toponymy, where names of places are derived from the name of people, like for example, Kabingkoy, Kapurin, Katiryang. So if we look at them, they're actually not names of heroes. They are names of simple people, mga lumad, which have lived for the longest time sa ating komunidad. And they pay respect and they also pay honor to these people by naming these particular places to them. And we also have, the rest of the 3 basically are related to our environment, such as hayop, puno or prutas, at iba pang elemento ng kalikasan. Like there are places that's called sunshine. There's also places which is called awihaw, ilihan, and there's also a sitio called balingasaw. So interestingly, these places are all related to environment, and makikita natin that all of these salita, language is basically linked towards our very own nature because it's a product, it is shaped by our environment. And now let's proceed with our RQ2, which is pagbibigay ng definasyon according sa kontekstong historical, cultural, at ecological ng ating mga termino. So, I'm just gonna summarize them into 3, which is, of course, historical, cultural, as well as ecological. First, these terms are also historical spaces. These are historical terms as well. These are remnants of the past. Say, for example, we have different ancestral house, and that when we actually study them, like kapurin, katiryang houses, we don't just see them as ancestral house, but they are basically remnants of the past. We get to know the history during the Japanese occupation ng mga tao doon and what are their experiences once we get to know more of this ancestral house. And we'll get to know more even about the school, that it was actually a cemetery because during the World War, a lot of people at that time were killed in this place. So people are buried in the school. And more than that, it also reflects our traditional na paraan ng pamumuhay. There are so many artifacts. No? Isa sa mga semantic field natin ay artefacto. So, mga artifacts, these are material cultures, and we all know for a fact that material cultures represents as well the pamumuhay ng ating mga tao. So, when people make use of lusong or alho, what does it mean for them? They're actually related to their pamumuhay, that they are into farming, and they use this para sa kanilang saging or sa kanilang mais. And when we get to know them as well, we will realize that their food, staple food is not actually rice, but it's corn because they don't plant rice. Wala namang rice fields doon. It doesn't grow. And so, by that, malalaman natin na it's also really a symbol of their traditional way of life. And secondly, our ecological and linguistic laws. One of the interesting things in the name derivation is the word balingasaw. And I don't know if you're familiar with that word, but the origin of the name, it's actually a reptile. It's an animal or a hayop. But majority of the people in Latab-an, which is our lokal, hindi nila alam kung ano ang balingasaw because hindi na naman siya makikita natin sa mismo na lugar. So they're no longer with that. So they were able to come up with stories of balingasaw. Like, it comes from word bali and ngasaw. You have to reverse the ngasaw. It becomes aswang. And many people also believed about aswang, or in common terms, it's actually wakwak. And people believe about wakwak. They even associate mga elders ka ng mga tiguang na as mga wakwak. No, which is interesting. And because they so much believe about wakwak, they also practice during funeral, or if there is anyone who is pregnant, they also have bagakay on their homes to get rid of this wakwak. But then, again, just like what I have mentioned earlier, they don't know anymore the origin of the term balingasaw. So what I would like to tell you is that when something that is within our environment went through changes, it also affects our language as well, the meaning behind our words. And so if we lose a part of it, we lose our language, we lose our identity as well. So, and the third thing is it's also a cultural repository, just like what I have mentioned earlier. It allows us to have an understanding more about our culture, the agricultural practices of the people, that when we talked about bojong, perhaps you're familiar with the conch shell, no? And it's a wind instrument. Some other cultures use it as a musical instrument, but there they use it when they do alayon. I don't know if you're familiar with alayon, but alayon is like a bayanihan concept. But in this community, they do alayon like when there is a farming work and there are 5 members na who will do the farm work, and our first member will do, like, they have, each of them has farms, no? Our first member, dito tayo mag-farm work sa farm ni member 1. On day 2, kay member 2 naman. And they all work together. So it also reflects the collectivistic nature of our community because they don't do work alone. They actually do their work as a group because as per our participants, it's much more efficient, and it also brings them happiness kasi there's a time for chika for them as well, no? And they get to talk because I think that's also the very nature of Cebuanos. So for the last part, we were able to come up with our glossary, which hopefully our educators can also use when they teach social studies to incorporate them into their instruction. And these are not just simply, again, a list of words, but this is the reflection of the way of life of our people. And imagine if you teach social studies and you integrate these things, history is not detached from our own reality, and our students would be able to appreciate more learning history and culture and even appreciating our environment. And for the last part, I guess that's all that I wanted to say, that our history isn't really a monolithic story. It's composed of different stories. There are stories sa ating barangay, sa pook, sa ating mga lugar. There are stories within our mountains. And it's up for us to study them and share to the rest of the world. It goes to show that our country is so rich in culture and history. And when we study them, it would give us a more comprehensive and better picture of our country. And therefore, on the next slide, for the recommendation is we do more local history studies and also makipagtulungan sa ating mga komunidad and schools to preserve our culture, to preserve our history, and as well as to conserve our environment, because we've realized that language, culture, history are all interconnected. Thank you so much.